working Russian collusion records the day before he left office. This is all going to come out. There's going to be accountability. This is the biggest scandal in American history. And Joe Biden, you better figure out what prison you want to go to, buddy, because it's coming.
These people are complete and total frauds. Are they completely and totally effed? Mike Davis, the floor is yours.
Yes. And as we've been saying for 3 years on your show and just about every other of the more than 4,500 media hits I've done over the last 3 years supporting, defending President Trump, this is a criminal conspiracy against rights under 18 USC Section 241. When you politicize and weaponize intel agencies and law enforcement to go after your political enemies for non-crimes, that is textbook conspiracy against rights under 18 USC Section 241. So I would say to these Obama and Biden Democrats, including President Obama himself, President Biden himself, and all these other people who participated and helped cover up this ongoing criminal conspiracy against rights, I would say to them, lawyer up, because justice is definitely coming, as I've promised, and I'm going to make damn sure happens.
Can you explain what the statute of limitations is here, Mike? Is there any worming, snake slithering wiggle room here? Are there any technicalities that they're going to be able to hide under a rock?
Yeah, remember this, back in 2016, you had President Obama and then Vice President Joe Biden and Clapper and Comey and Brennan and so many other goons make up the Russian collusion hoax. They worked with the Hillary's campaign, the DNC, the Steele dossier. You had Perkins Coie law firm. You made up the Steele dossier. You made up the Russian collusion hoax. You said you were lying. You said that the Trump and his campaign were colluding with the Russians to steal the 2016 election. You fed this to the FISA court as bogus evidence. So you lied to the FISA court. You got an illegal spy warrant from this federal court. You spied on then presidential candidate Donald Trump. You continued to spy on Donald Trump when he was the president of the United States. You used his own FBI and his own CIA and other intel agencies to hobble his presidency. I remember when I went to the Senate Judiciary Committee at the beginning of his administration in 2017, and everyone was running around, including Senate Republicans, saying that Trump is a Russian asset because of this Russian collusion hoax. They destroyed his many parts of his first term. Now, it was still wildly successful because Trump is such a strong leader, but look what we're seeing now compared to his first term, and look at how much he's accomplishing now compared to his first term. That's what they were trying to prevent in his first term. His monumental accomplishments over the last 6 months, they tried to hobble the first time. And you talk about the statute of limitations, Ben. Generally, the statute of limitations for federal felonies is 5 years. So you say, oh, this was 2016, we're well beyond the statute of limitations. Guess what? You're not, because this is an ongoing criminal conspiracy. When you conspire, in order for the conspiracy to stop, you have to disavow the conspiracy. The ends of the conspiracy have to end. It happens. They are covering up the conspiracy. They are perjuring themselves. We saw perjury by high-ranking Obama officials during this ongoing criminal conspiracy. I think it was in 2022. So we're well within the statute of limitations, and I would say to these Biden Democrats, justice is coming. I would be very, very scared if I were you. I don't think we'll put you in Mike Davis's gulag, the Viceroy's gulag, as we joke, as we troll. But justice is definitely coming, and I think the Bureau of Prisons will have plenty of space for these people.
So, very interesting, because you have a shining record on this program of telling us what's going to happen in the future. You did this with Letitia James and with Fani Willis, and it was a masterclass, Mike. It just rang like a bell. And people mocked you and they laughed at you and they memed you for saying that at the height of what seemed to be their engorged power, that Letitia James and Fannie Willis, that it would snap back on them. And lo and behold, both of them are facing now their own federal charges and or their own prosecutions inside of the House or investigations inside of the House of Representatives. So Mike has a gleaming record on this. Talk us through what happens next, and if you don't mind, could you narrow it down to Comey, Clapper, Brennan, and Barack Obama? Will Barack Obama be able to claim presidential immunity on this? Can you claim presidential immunity if you're committing a crime?
He might be able to claim presidential immunity for his actions while he was the president of the United States, and they'll have to litigate that, right? It's unclear whether he'll ultimately get presidential immunity for this, but I'll tell you this, it's an ongoing criminal conspiracy, and presidential immunity covers his actions while he's the president of the United States. They don't cover his actions when he's the former president of the United States, and when he's participating in the cover-up of this conspiracy, then he doesn't have presidential immunity.
It's a major question that everybody is asking, and I'm getting some major pushback here from some of the usual suspects, saying nothing will ever happen, Mike. No one will ever go to jail. It's just show. It's just the sparkler show, and it's poof, it's gone. Like it's not real ammunition. What do you say to that? And what do you say to the haters online that says nothing will ever come of this?
I think these haters online need to learn how to win instead of just crying and losing and throwing their peas on the wall like petulant children. So we don't lose at the Article 3 project. We proved that over the last 3 years when the Democrats and most Republicans left President Trump dead on the side of the road, a dead political body. We went and picked him up from the side of the road and triaged him and made sure that he was back in the White House. And we're going to make damn sure at the Article 3 project very publicly, very loudly, that there is accountability for this unprecedented Republic-ending lawfare against President Trump. His top aides like Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro, who went to prison, his supporters on January 6th who were politically persecuted. These Democrats even went after parents for being outraged by gender chaos in schools and the resulting rapes in bathrooms. They went after elderly pro-life Christians for praying at abortion clinics. The Trump 47 Justice Department, led by Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, and FBI Director Kash Patel, and Civil Rights Head Harmeet Dillon, and Solicitor General John Sauer, and so many others, Dan Bongino, the Deputy FBI Director. The President has assembled an all-star team at the Justice Department, and they are working every day behind the scenes, putting big wins on the board for things that matter, like 15 of the last 17 cases that they've brought before the Supreme Court, they've won on the emergency docket. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. I'm going to make damn sure it happens because I am loud, I am vocal, and I am not going away. And I'm not like a cat. I'm not going to sneak up on you and jump on your face while you're sleeping. I am Cujo. I am a dog. I am barking down the street. I have been barking down the street for 3 years. And before I maul you and rip your face off to these Democrats, you know I'm coming.
So what does that look like? We've watched President Trump get arrested. We've watched President Trump be brought in for mugshots. Will we actually see a President Obama, a James Clapper, a James Comey, a John Brennan mugshot?
Nobody is above the law, and if there is evidence that any of these people committed a crime, they will face accountability. They will face severe legal, political, and financial consequences. They try to bankrupt President Trump for non-fraud. They try to throw him in prison for life 4 times for non-crimes. They try to unconstitutionally throw him off the ballots. And Joe Biden tried to get President Trump killed twice. And I don't say that lightly, but Joe Biden intentionally underfunded Trump's Secret Service protection twice, said that President Trump was the gravest threat to American democracy, and Joe Biden actually used the word bullseye on President Trump. And what the hell did Joe Biden think was going to happen after he did that? President Trump almost had his head blown off twice, one time by a millimeter and a millisecond. He was saved by the grace of God. President Trump is on a mission to save America from these evil Democrat Marxists who are subversive and who are trying to destroy our country from within. And it starts with their Trojan horse leader, Barack Obama.
I couldn't believe the language that Tulsi was using, Mike. You always have this mealy mouth, limp wrist, limp dick language from Republicans, like, we really hope that there's accountability, and this is better for, we need to restore norms, right? So another Republican administration would say, it's about norms, okay? Like, right? Like, it's about the dignity of the office. Tulsi straight out saying it's a seditious conspiracy. That's what Stephen Miller said. Tulsi said it's traitorous activities. These are legal words. How do you charge seditious conspiracy? How do you charge treason, Mike? Can you educate me?
Yeah, treason's where you lead a revolt against the government of your country. You're trying to take down the government of your country. It's usually working with foreign actors under our constitutional treason statute, but you may have that here. You may have that with the Steele dossier, because you had the Democrats with the Steele dossier working with foreign governments to make up this fake intel to go after President Trump. And I've told you my theory of this case. This is what I think. This is why I think they did it. Hillary Clinton had her illegal home server as the Secretary of State, not only with our nation's most classified secrets, which is espionage. Maybe there's some Benghazi material that led to someone's death, like the ambassador's death. Maybe someone hacked that, and that's how this ambassador was able to get killed. But separate from that, it had the Clinton Foundation pay-for-play foreign bribery schemes. The Clinton Foundation is taking millions and millions of dollars from shady foreign actors. What was Hillary Clinton doing in her official capacity as the Secretary of State to take this money to the Clinton Foundation to underfund their lavish lifestyle, their private jets and their glamorous travel and glitzy lifestyle? What was she doing? We'll never know, because when she got subpoenaed, she destroyed her server with BleachBit, her home server in her closet. She took a hammer to her phones, clear obstruction of justice, clear conspiracy. Of course, nothing happens to her because she's a Clinton. But guess what? Maybe, just maybe, our worst enemies like China and Russia hacked that server, and maybe they had a copy of it. Maybe Russia was going to put out a copy of Hillary's corruption before the 2016 election. So maybe that's why Hillary Clinton and her campaign had to make up the Russian collusion hoax. So if this came out before the 2016 election, Hillary can say, you can't believe this stuff. This is a campaign dirty trick by President Trump. He's working with the Russians to interfere in our election. Don't believe any of this material. And you say that sounds like a crazy conspiracy theory, Mike. How could you possibly think that? They did the same thing in 2020 with Joe Biden and Hunter Biden's laptop from hell. They had 51 former intel officials working with the CIA, putting out BS that Hunter Biden's laptop of the Biden family corruption had all the hallmarks of a Russian disinformation campaign. You can't believe it. And not only did they do that, they censored the New York Post, America's oldest newspaper. They colluded with big tech, Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple to deplatform the New York Post, take the story. You couldn't even get the New York Post story on the internet, and they censored everyone on big tech platforms who tried to share the story. They deplatformed them. They covered that up. And we know that if the American people in 2020 had known about this laptop from hell with this Biden family corruption, there's no chance Joe Biden would have been able to rig and steal the election. Trump would have won by a landslide, right? And so then President Trump was going to declassify Crossfire Hurricane. He fought the deep state for 4 years to declassify, right? And his own political people at the Justice Department, at the FBI, at the DNI, didn't do a damn thing until Rick Grinnell and Kash Patel went over to the DNI and unclogged the drain of the swamp for the intel community and got Crossfire Hurricane almost there. And then John Radcliffe, who became the DNI and is now the CIA director in Trump's second term, is the one who got Crossfire Hurricane declassified into Trump. And guess what? They never released it. Trump declassified it the day before he left office. The FBI, the DOJ ran to him and said, "You can't release this publicly. It violates the Federal Privacy Act, which is a crime. You have to do a Privacy Act review." Well, guess what? They didn't do the Privacy Act review. They did the Mar-a-Lago raid. And then when they didn't get Crossfire Hurricane in Mar-a-Lago, that's when they worked with Tish James and Fannie Willis and Alvin Bragg and all these Democrats to try to bankrupt, throw in prison, take off the ballot, and kill President Trump. It comes down to Crossfire Hurricane. This is all going to come out as part of this Crossfire Hurricane investigation by Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and the rest of the all-stars in the Trump 47 Justice Department. This is a real crime by real criminals, and there's going to be accountability. And if it leads to President Trump himself, good luck, Barry. You might find yourself on the other side of a mugshot, and if you're continuing this criminal conspiracy, you might end up in federal prison.
So you're saying that this all boils back to Hillary Clinton's server.
Yes.
And the crime there, and the cover-up of that crime. It's been that same cabal. It's the same people. It's Clapper, Brennan, Comey.
Yep. And they used all these bogus crimes that they say President Trump has committed, which he has not. Yeah. These are non-crimes. It's not a crime to object to a presidential election, right? That's protected by the Electoral Count Act of 1887. It's protected by the First Amendment. Everything they say President Trump did, they are doing. They are gaslighting the American people. This is what the Democrat Party does. Today's Democrats are not liberals who love America. They're not our parents, our grandparents' Democrat Party. They don't just disagree with us on the best way to get there. Today's Democrats are largely Marxist. They hate America. They hate free speech. They believe in censorship. They hate equality. They believe in equity. They hate due process and equal protection of the law. They believe in a politicized and weaponized justice system. And as I always say, we cannot reason with these people. We need to destroy them. They only respect power. They only respect the sword, like their Marxist Islamist foot soldiers who they imported to destroy this country. We need to destroy these people. And that starts with this conspiracy against rights under 18 U.S.C. Section 241. We need to investigate them. We need to have a federal grand jury indict them, and we need to put them in prison.
That's the playbook, Mike. That was my final question. My final question to you was, how do you make it stick? How would Mike Davis charge this? So you would use conspiracy against rights. That's what you would lead with?
Yes.
Would you include treason, seditious conspiracy? Is there anything else that I'm missing here? I guess maybe, since that was my last question, here it is, open floor. What else is the American public missing here? You've been waiting for this moment, Mike, because you've been explaining this, everything from the Mar-a-Lago raid all the way through to the Hillary Clinton server and Trump's indictments. You've been tying it all together for a very long time. What is everyone missing here when it comes to these charges? What will happen next?
The cleanest charge you can bring is conspiracy against rights under 18 U.S.C. Section 241. This is an ongoing criminal conspiracy. There's no statute of limitation problem. It is clear cut. This is one of the charges that that Jack Smith brought against President Trump in the D.C. indictment with D.C. Obama Judge Tanya Chutkan, this radical lunatic Marxist who Obama put on the court. This another DEI Marxist who they pretend they put on the court because of diversity, but in reality she's a subversive Marxist. They brought this against President Trump for the non-crime of objecting to a presidential election. Let's bring this against Obama, Biden, Hillary, Brennan, Clapper, Comey, Big Tish, Big Fanny, Alvin Bragg, uh, all of every one of these players, that goofy woman attorney general out in Arizona who charged Trump supporters, I forgot her name, Chris Mays or whatever the hell her name is, Andrew Weissman. He would love being in prison if you just watch him on MSNBC. We can give him martinis every night, and he can be the prison bitch. So there is no shortage of, and I did that for Media Matters because I didn't think I was being inflammatory enough. So I wanted to throw that martini comment about Andrew Weissman and the prison bitch for Media Matters. And
Molotov cocktail prone. Mike.
Yes. We are. I would say that these people who pushed Norm Eisen. How did I forget Norm Eisen? There are so many bad actors who allegedly or could have participated in this ongoing criminal conspiracy against rights. Lisa Monaco. How did I leave out Lisa Monaco? She's like, she was the deputy attorney general. There was the DNI for Obama. I can't remember her name. Some DEI woman who should not have been in that job. Alvin or. It's like a diversity clown car. They pretend like they care about diversity. They pretend like they want women and minorities in these jobs, and then they rabidly go after every Republican woman and minority, like Judge Cannon and so many others. What they want are radical Marxists hiding under the guise of being a woman or minority, so you can't attack them because then you're racist and sexist and transphobe and homophobe. I would say this DEI clown car needs to go to prison.
Well, here we go. The president posted it, Mike, and we know that you're very, very close with this Justice Department and that you're just one of the soundest advisors.
Oh, I left off Ben Rhodes. How can I? And Valerie Jarrett, Susan Rice, Samantha Power. I got Clapper and Comey and Barry Obama. But yeah, I mean, I think that shady bunch, instead of having 8 people on there, I think there are probably 80 or more.
Mike, Godspeed, man. I just can't wait to clip up this segment, baby, and put it on.
Did I bring the heat today, Ben? I started off a little bit docile, but I turned it up for you.
It is what we call berserker mode for Mike Davis, and if you wish to,
one last
Please.
one. I would say to Barack Hussein Obama, lawyer up, buddy, because your conspiracy after you left the White House could land you in prison.
We're waiting, Mike. We're waiting for those days, and we're ready to rock, and we're ready with Mike Davis, who has been telling you what was about to happen for years. He's been right. I posted it this weekend. I just said, man, I'm glad I listened to Mike Davis. He's just one of those guys who comes on and tells you the future. And so you should be very uplifted by Mike's interview today. If you want Berserker mode every day in your timeline, go follow Mike. He's got nearly 500,000 followers right here on X. And you should support the Article 3 Project. Here's their website right now. Article 3 Project brings brass knuckles to fight leftist lawfare. Well, ain't that the truth? Mike, Godspeed, man.
Thank you.
Well, there you go. That's the Benny Show. The guy is rocking. If you're listening to anybody else, you're crazy. I mean, I looked at Fox News, and what do they got? They got like 149,000 people. The Benny Show has coverage on all kinds of really good things. And he's got like 5.4 million people watching him. So he's putting out some good stuff. He's talking to some great people. How about that lawyer? I mean, he's going to bark down the road and rip their faces off. I want to hire that guy. That's what you want in a lawyer. You don't want, come on. Hey, subscribe, hit that like button, hit that bell. Okay, here we go.